In 1996, Cameron Crowe cast Tom Cruise as a cocky sports agent in the film Jerry Maguire. The film was an enormous success. For Crowe, it marked his biggest box office hit to date, earning over $200 million. For Cruise, it earned him his second Oscar nomination for Best Actor and his second Golden Globe win. 5 years later, the two have re-teamed for the highly anticipated Vanilla Sky. After buying the rights to the 1997 Spanish thriller Open Your Eyes, Cruise asked Crowe to adapt and direct. I am pleased to welcome Cameron Crowe here for the second time, and Tom Cruise here for the first of many, many, many visits.
Charlie Rose.
Charlie Rose. It's great to be here.
Great to have you.
Good to see you again.
All right. Tell me the story before we talk about this movie. I mean, you discovered it, or Paula Wagner, who got this first? Who discovered the film, not Vanilla Sky, but the film that's based on? Yeah.
He wrote it.
He wrote it. Yeah.
And before it was released, they sent it to me and said, you got to take a look at this. And but when the credits rolled, I wanted to buy it, and but I wanted to have Amenabar's blessing. And then it was actually like that night, then I called Cameron and said, do you want to come over and see this picture?
That night?
Yeah, wasn't it that night? I think it was that night. I called him. Now you take it from there. So what happened?
He said, I have this movie from Spain that you got to see. And it's rockin', and I'm not going to tell you anymore. And the last time he said, I have a movie I want you to see, it was Trainspotting. So I knew, he knew the stakes were high. So I was able to go over to his house and see this movie, knowing nothing about it. And it took me in places I never thought I'd go. And it was a love story, and it blew my mind.
Now, what does that mean? It took you in places you never thought you'd go.
Well, it begins as a great modern love story, and it slowly starts to turn, and before you know it, the room in the house you thought you were in has changed, but you believe in the heart and the soul of these characters. And I love characters, so I'm always looking for a different way to tell a love story, and this certainly was that and more.
Yeah.
But very much the cool thing about it that it's not, and I like the way Cameron describes it. Cameron got his band together, and we're doing a cover of this song, because when you see the original, it's very much Amenabar.
Yeah.
And the way Cameron wrote and designed the picture, I mean, it's very much Cameron Crowe, but there's a dialogue between the two pictures. You know, he hails Amenabar in it, and because we dug it so much. Yeah. But he just, all the subjects. I enjoyed the dialogue that the two of us had about the film, and when before he said he'd do it, it wasn't like, hey man, it just started out as fans, and we were just kind of rapping about the picture, and then it just evolved into different ideas that Cameron, I mean, he knows all about pop. He wrote for Rolling Stone. It's pop culture is in his blood, and it's his life.
Yes.
And
so it's about pop culture. That's one thing. It's a
pop culture.
About. What else is it about?
Pop culture. It's about eternal nature of love. It's about, I think, it explores themes of casual sex.
Search for truth.
What's real in your life, all wrapped up in the journey of a character played by Tom.
Is it easy or very difficult if you're adapting, even though you're going to make it an original work, from another film?
I think generally, yes, because you want to be true to the writing voice that created anything, really, if you're gonna make any changes in it. This was very open-ended, and we also heard from the original director that he was thrilled that we wanted to kind of answer some of the questions and really kind of play his song, and it was very musical to me too. I started hearing the music that I thought could be in the movie, and we were off and running. And it was almost like I couldn't say no. I was already thinking about how we could do the movie before the opportunity even came up.
Even though the character is not the same, Penelope basically plays Sophia in both films and says if you don't cast her in your film, she's bringing over an Uzi and taking you out. Is that about right?
So,
I knew I had to see her soon.
So he went to Greece.
I went to Greece to see her quickly.
Now, what did you like about it? I mean, you've got lots of options, and you sit here, and you've seen a Spanish film, about love, about growing up, about truth, about, you know, pop culture?
Just, you know what, when it was over, it was an adrenaline rush, the picture. I was on the edge of my seat, and I remember I was sweating when the film was over. And there were great scenes in it, and I was struck by the voice of the filmmaker. And I mean, later he came and asked Paula and I to produce the others with them. And I was just struck by the filmmaker, and I just had to show it to Cameron, and I just wanted to rap with someone about it. I wanted to talk about it. And also explore, you know, it kind of led us to that dialogue of what would you do with it, you know? What are some of the themes, you know, when you talk about, you know, Cameron always said, you know, he wanted to have a film that explored pop culture. And then, you know, you start talking about, well, where are you going to shoot it? And ended up being, you know, it's like you needed what is the most iconographic piece of real estate in the world?
Manhattan.
Manhattan. Times Square, pop culture.
Right.
And we were able to get that.
What an amazing scene. Now, I don't know if this is in my scene list here, my shot list or not, but the scene,
Yeah.
you got Times Square.
We did.
How did that happen?
They gave us
exactly.
Times Square.
What
How did
mayor
that
do you
happen?
know?
Did that happen?
Did that happen? I don't think that really happened.
It's really something, you know. We dreamed about having this sequence where a guy who is afraid of being alone has a dream of utter loneliness, and he's alone on an empty Times Square with all the electricity going.
Right.
So, I mean, through a lot of conversations with the mayor's office and the police department and the film commission, they gave us, when they knew we knew what we wanted to do, 3 hours.
At what time of day?
Sunday morning. A year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah, and I must have a reputation for improv or something, because they kept saying, you better know what you want to do when you get there. And we did.
This is one chance,
I know.
Mr. Director. Roll tape. Here's our first clip. Take a look at this. I have no idea how you shot that.
We rehearsed it quite a few times.
You mean you ran this 4 or 5 times before you shot
Well,
it?
no, I have to tell you this. John Toll, who's just a genius, you know, cinematographer. It was our second movie together. He did Almost Famous too. We rehearsed it and planned out the shot. But it's funny, we knew it had to start with Tom's face, because without the character to tell you how to feel, it's just a slightly odd, striking shot, but you don't feel what he's feeling. But we rehearsed that original shot that we just saw a lot. And we actually got it done so early that we were able to just do these running shots with Tom for hours in Times Square.
I was very pleased.
He will run. He will run. And he ran for hours.
You once said a really an amazing thing that I thought, which I totally agree with, is that, in a sense, you measure a film's success or failure for you internally by whether the experience was worth it and whether you learned something.
Yeah.
Do you come away from this kind of stretching, can you say now that it's boxed up and ready to go, that you learned something, that you felt an experience that you hadn't had before?
Yeah, definitely. I've never had an experience like this before, and it's really raised the bar for me, because it's, I'm so proud of the movie that, you know, we produced it together, Cameron, you know, to first of all, to share that kind of thing together, and Paula, and the character. I love my character, but also to be part of a film that has such rich characters in the story, and a story that works on so many different levels. You dream of being able to do something like this, and
To inhabit this kind of character, even though you're not crazy about the character.
no, but to inhabit this kind of character, and to inhabit, you know, and to be involved with a script and a story that means something, and that's how I feel about it. You know, I mean, obviously I want the studio to make all their money back, and that's kind of how I go out, and they let me
Do it again.
go out and do it again. That's how it works. They don't make money, they don't let you do it very much. You know?
They're happy with you so
They
far.
don't let you keep going.
Mission Impossible 2 did okay.
Yeah, did all right, did all right.
Tell me about David, though. Who is David Ames?
You know, David Ames is a guy who, I don't think he's a bad guy at all. I think he's a guy who he lost his parents, and he's snowboarding through life. He doesn't really recognize that in life you have to take responsibility. There's moments in time where you have all these things that, you know, swirling around you, and he's never really grasped the concept of the effects that he creates, not only in his own life but in others' lives, you know. And that's the kind of guy he is, and I think that he's a person who cares about people, but he just doesn't recognize that level. I think in life you find a lot of people that go through their lives and they don't really consider how they behave and how it affects other people. And I think he's kind of in that stage of his life at the beginning of the picture.
Roll tape. This is a point where Brian, who is a good friend played by Jason Lee, questions David about whether he was with Julia Gianni, played by Cameron Diaz. Roll tape.
I was alone? Fine. You can do whatever you want with your life.
Thanks.
But one day you'll know what love truly is. It's the sour and the sweet. And I know sour, which allows me to appreciate the sweet.
Julie Gianni is a friend. Sometimes we sleep together.
All right, so let me just get this right. So here is the producer and the lead actor in this film. You are the director and the producer. What happens if you don't agree on something? How do you work it out?
He's right.
I mean, do you have to have some sense that...
You know what, we've never not agreed.
Yeah, everything comes from a dialogue between us and like a thrill of how we can have people feel stuff from the characters. That's the goal.
I'm Cameron's sounding board, you know. I mean, we talk and we talk about things. And as a producer, the good thing about the success that I've had is that we really, try to surround and just protect his vision of the film, and he creates a great environment. We want to protect that environment so that it can be as great an experience as it can be, and also to protect the creative. Paula Wagner was an agent beforehand, so all these things come into play. So it's always, we never disagreed about anything ever. Two pictures. What he wants to do, he does. And I trust him entirely.
What are you looking for in your actor?
That.
Trust. Yeah. But you're also wanting to surprise you. You want him to do something that's...
Yeah, and he also, I mean, it's harder for me to know the rhythms of what I've written.
And I remind the audience, you wrote the script.
Yeah, I wrote the adaptation of this, and the first time we worked together was also a script I wrote, and I sort of hear what I've written back in what he perceives from it and how he says it. Sometimes I'm so close to it I'm not sure, so he'll read it and start doing the scene, and it starts to reveal itself. So it's the kind of relationship you look for as a writer-director, most of all, someone that brings all your thoughts and dreams to life.
But he only wants to do one take. Tom, one take.
That's right. It's just he will only do it once.
Did you look at that face?
Then,
I was like, whoa, could you imagine?
Yeah. Shock.
Yeah.
No, he will do it as many times as you want him to do it, and also,
or as many times as he wants to do it.
Well, if
so he doesn't feel
Tom
like
always
it's
says,
right.
"Are you happy? Do you feel like you have it?"
Yeah, and you depend on him as to whether it's there.
Absolutely.
It's there, even though you
Absolutely.
think, "Oh God, I may have one better turn."
If I feel that, he always says he's always up for another one. But when he says, "Hey, man, let's go," it's also, when you look at I think when you look at his films and the performances that Cameron gets in his pictures and the writing, that it has a feeling of, Cameron knows where he's going, but that there's a workshop feeling on the set, so that you never let go of the tail of that tiger when you're making a picture, and character comedy and those character moments that you reach for, it takes time, and so it's just easy. It's just easy. You just keep going, and you find it, and I enjoy that process of finding a scene.
You want the audience. Why are you smiling?
We're finally
It
here. We
resonates.
talked about you
we
so
talked
much
about you
making
so much,
the movie.
Charlie. It's like, no, here we are, Charlie Rose.
The character in the movie actually was a Charlie Rose watcher, and so we used to talk about that.
Yep.
You have to know this.
David watched.
He watched
Yeah.
Charlie Rose, and there were some things that we did as improvs that things he would do to prod Kurt Russell's character.
Kurt
into
Russell
being
plays a psychiatrist who's a,
yeah.
right.
And as he's having these conversations with Kurt Russell, Kurt Russell's trying to draw him out. Sometimes Tom's character would try and deflect him by just going, Charlie Rose. You had to be there, and in fact, you were there. But
All right,
anyway,
take a look at it. Let me look at another clip here. Roll tape. We'll take a look at what this is. I think we'll see now. Tell me about casting, Cameron.
Cameron Diaz is a spectacular actress and brilliant at character, comedy, and drama. And I wanted to use her in a dramatic way where all of her little sparks and flares could come out. Because essentially she's a character who's in love and is not getting enough back. And from David Ames, and I thought she could play heartbreak in a very unique way, and she did, because in their relationship in the movie, they have a relationship based on casual sex, and they've made love 4 times in one night. Now, to her, that's got to mean
And he loves her.
something like a love, deep love. And when she finds that that may mean something else to David, maybe just a great night, things begin to turn in her world. And I thought Cameron Diaz was great to play those subtle shifts of love.
Do you want the audience watching this film to be not sure what's going on? Is this a dream or not? Is this real or not? I mean, I'm taking some experience from this. You want them to be shaken by, if they invest themselves in it, what the hell's happening?
Yeah.
Is that the point, in part?
The point is to believe in the characters. I never want anybody to feel, and I don't, as a fan, like to feel like I've invested in characters and then found out nothing is real. This movie is based in reality. The love story.
But the reality
is real.
could be in his head, though, couldn't it?
It might be, but most just part of it. Most of the movie is very real, and trust it. And I've learned, to anybody that wants to know how to watch the movie, follow David Ames. Watch Tom's performance, because you may see it the first time, you may see it the second time, but everything is explained, and it should be, when it's a puzzle, a wonderful puzzle, never meant to confuse you.
Layers.
Layers, exactly.
Did you get up for this in a different way? I mean, are you at the point in your craft that how you approach a role is what? How do you approach, for example, David? What do you do to...
Kind of from the inside out. Each character is different, and this character, it's so demanding because the places you go with it, the comedy within the pain of what the character goes through, and I love the comedy, the character comedy that Cameron writes, even when he's at the bottom, and so I just worked from the inside out. A lot of dialogue with Cameron. You do research and find the physicality of the role, and I just work on his scenes, and we just would rehearse and have conversations about it. We talk about scenes over and over again. Remember, I just read his script and just try to understand what he's going for and what he's looking for in the character, and then I just start to discover it, and I just start working on the character until it reveals itself to Cameron and to myself, because often, sometimes he'll find moments while we're working. He says, "That's David Ames," and then, eventually, it reveals itself to me, and then I don't even think about it. It's just the way he moves, the way he, Cameron always talked about how he glides through a room. He wants me to take it.
There's a physicality about this character.
Definitely.
Yeah, and many different levels of physicality for it because of what he goes through, and the gracefulness and the kind of ease at the beginning, and then the uncomfort that he has in the middle of the picture, and then the return of that.
Let's introduce another character. Here is Penelope Cruz, who plays Sophia. Take a look.
I feel bad. You said to draw a caricature.
I know, I couldn't. I saw you like that. That smile is going to be the end of me.
Now tell me about her character, Sophia, Tom. David, you want to do you want Cameron
I'll
to do
go
it?
to the writer-director.
Yeah, right.
She's got 4 or 5 jobs. She lives in New York. She sort of represents reality in a guy's life who is surrounded with people that either work for him or they're trying to acquire some part of his charisma. This is a girl that kind of touches something inside of him, and he wants to know her more. And she quite clearly changes his life as he sees what he's been missing. And it's a long journey to him finding the love that he deserves and needs. And she represents truth.
Truth. For him.
For him, and she's truthful to him when she talks to him and says things that he hasn't heard but suspected were true. And slightly different from the character she plays in the original. But Penelope is the kind of person that I think, you know, the characters she plays are the kind of people that can change your life in a night, which is what happens.
Roll tape. Here's the scene.
David, I love you. I love you! Stop the car! Don't you know that when you sleep with someone, your body makes a promise whether you do or not? Tell me something, David. I mean, do you believe in God?
I wonder how far you're going to take that clip.
Pull it off.
Yeah, exactly. Pull it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can we tell about this? Because I need to sort of figure out how much we can talk about this. What happens to, I'll let you do it, what happens to David Ames?
David Ames makes a slight misjudgment. He sort of runs an emotional red light. One last one, really, thinking he's not going to get caught. And he gets tripped up a little bit and has a very hard time getting back to that one night where real true love was possible with Penelope Cruz's character. The whole story sort of begins as an exploration of a crime that we know has been committed, but we're not sure exactly what the crime is. And it ends up really being an exploration of the American male and pop culture. And I sort of knew after Magnolia for sure that and from working with Tom on Jerry Maguire, that he was headed for a big performance that kind of represented what men and people are going
Now,
through.
what
now.
part of Magnolia told you that?
Just, you know, humor and deep resonance at the same time. So you're laughing, you're aching, and you're thinking about very important issues, all with a look, all with a way he might look over and react to something somebody said, and then all of that done with moments of incredible power, too.
When you think about your career, I'm thinking about Cameron, and when you said Magnolia, I'm thinking about Anderson, P.T. Anderson. I think about The Color of Money, Scorsese. Rain Man was Levinson. Few Good Men was Rob Reiner. You go down the list. It is almost like you have in your room somewhere. That on my way to being what I ever want to be, and my sense is you haven't got there yet. I'm assuming you're not there, because that's what drives you to keep going, is a list of really, in your head, the best directors in America. Are you getting ready to work with Spielberg? And Minority Report, you finished the film, and that's not out, it'll be out soon, right? Tell me about the drive to make sure that you get with directors that will take you somewhere.
Luck, really. I mean, you have the, you know, I mean, it just kind of happens, you know, that I read a script and I'm fortunate enough to work with these people who I admire and have the opportunities to have done the things that I've done.
How many have you
it's
done two
happened.
films with?
2 films. 2 films. Cameron Crowe,
Yeah.
Tony Scott.
Tony Scott.
Yep. Top Gun and Days of Thunder with Tony.
I want to get Curtis McCabe is a character played by Kurt Russell, who plays the shrink that we're talking about, who has another. I mean, it's an interesting film for me in this way. It's a character-driven, obviously, and it's also experiential-driven.
And it's about relationship with characters. You know, here we see you with Russell. Take a look.
I love Kurt Russell.
Me too.
I'm so happy that I got the chance to work with him and on this. I've wanted to work with him for so long. And he came on Almost Famous, and I'm a pilot and he's a pilot, so I've flown with him, we hang out, and first of all, he's a great guy, and I just think he's a great actor, and he just came in and killed this.
He did. Now,
He killed it.
yeah, you knew him through, I guess, because he'd hang out when Kate was in Almost Famous.
Yeah,
his daughter.
he came by when we were filming and said, you know,
It's not his daughter, but it's family.
I think they relate as father and daughter for sure. And he was just like, hey, this makes me want to get back to work. And I had read Robert Towne interviews where he said, the best kept secret in Hollywood is Kurt Russell. And he was right.
Robert Towne said that? He's a smart guy.
He is a smart guy.
Very smart.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Yeah, did you read his interviews with Billy Wilder?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've interviewed him as well for
I have.
There, for
I
some
have.
magazine.
And
My first cover story he interviewed me.
yeah, right around the
I was young.
time of Color of Money.
Yeah.
You know, one of the great things that Billy said that we talked about a lot was, you know, Billy always felt the great goal in his career was to make a movie that you'd want to talk about for 15 minutes after you'd seen it.
Yeah.
You know, just 15 minutes, Billy? 15 minutes is the minimum. But that was his thing, you know, and he said that was always his goal, that they'd talk by the water cooler about his movie.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things we really wanted with Vanilla Sky, a movie that kind of stuck with you, and you couldn't
Well, you'll get that.
shake it.
You got that. I read somewhere where you said to him, "I'll be your Jack Lemmon." Speaking of the Billy Wilder reference, because Wilder had used Lemmon so much.
Yeah.
Right? And you said, "I'll be your Jack Lemmon. Take me." Did you say that, or does it make sense even if you didn't say it?
Well, I'm saying it now. I'll be your Jack Lemmon.
This is
I'll be
good.
your Jack Lemmon.
This is
So
very
He
good.
may even get a third chance,
No,
huh?
I know. I hope so. I really
Yeah.
hope so, because it's the kinship I feel. You know, when you're working with someone, that you just have that. It's just that relationship. I've always wanted that kind of relationship with the director, and it's one that creatively we just spin off each other really well, and I dig it.
Do you have some sense? Here's my impression. Taking risk is just fine with you, because as you said, in the end, if the experience is good, the risk is worth it.
Yeah.
If the experience is not, then
Yeah.
I failed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when you tell me about how you see the characters, is there a common denominator in the characters? Do you see yourself stretching in each of these characters you choose to play, whether it's from Magnolia to here, or from Jerry Maguire to?
Yeah, I do.
Too,
I
you
think Jerry Maguire is a tough character to play, a great character, but that character comedy, it's you know, you got to be on it. It's not easy. And I like the layers that he writes and allows, you know, the actor to bring and play with, and I love that stuff. I think this is. I always try to do that with roles that I play, and maybe from an audience standpoint, it's not as apparent, but I always try to do that. I always want to find something different to explore, and I've always looked for that when I've had the opportunity. And you know, but you look at, and also like movies like Mission Impossible, as a producer, that's a stretch. You know, they're fun but very challenging pictures to produce, and you learn a lot about producing when you make those kinds of pictures. And I think everything that I've learned as an actor and as a producer kind of just it culminates in being able to make Vanilla Sky, because it's a big picture to produce. It's and yet it's all about the little moments, and a delicate movie to act. But there's so many different, you know, layers to it that it was very challenging. As I said, it's a kind of movie. I remember when Karen was editing and I go hang out, and it's a movie that you change one thing and it changed the tone of the picture. It would kick your ass if you weren't all over. I mean, Karen was the funniest thing. It was I love that about the movie, that we were, you know, remember you're working on, I go in and I
change.
One little change, what? And you
One
worried
little
about?
change over here, and the whole movie is different.
It's like pulling a thread out.
Yes, it's a house of cards, and you just look at it. You know, we'd look at the picture, and it would just be totally different. And it was a real challenge. It was a real challenge doing it.
He
Fun.
surprised me constantly making the movie, and has a lot of shifts in the movie physically, mentally, comedically, you know, and so every day it would be another mindset. Hopefully that would add to, as he says, a movie about the little things that we need to cherish, the sweet and sour in all of our lives, you know.
What kind of music do we have in this movie? Since you like music better than film.
Oh yeah, well when they go together,
Oh,
that's
baby,
the best.
Nirvana.
You know, both the band and the feeling. You know? Radiohead was a big band for us. The album Kid A was sort of a theme as we were making it. REM we love, and REM gave us a new song. Band from Iceland, Sigur Rós, is my favorite new band, who gave us 3 songs.
Yeah.
And never have given their music.
Now,
to
do you have this
movies.
passion he has for music?
I love music.
Yeah.
I am the student here because he knows so much about music. I get the great bootleg copies of all the great performances of people that I love. You know, he says, oh, you know, I said, you know, I love Petty. It's like, oh, well, have you heard this piece? You know, it's like, wow, the best version ever. You know, of Free Fallin'. You know, it's like.
Let me tell you about the student. You know, some days after rap, I'd walk by his trailer, and the whole thing would be shaking. He'd be listening to music so loud. I'd be like, all right, nice.
This movie's partly about sexual obsession, yes?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Eyes Wide Shut was about sexual obsession and jealousy. Any
Yes.
other similarities you see there between performance, movie?
Yeah, I mean,
directing?
different kind of performance. Whereas that character was a guy who was internal, that engine cooking, and it just how he crumbled from the inside. But it's just a different character and a different performance. But definitely some of the themes, you know, is what we're dealing in casual sex, and we're dealing with sexual obsession,
And there you were dealing with?
in Eyes Wide Shut, very specifically, sexual deception, jealousy, relationships, you know, marriage, a look at a marriage, and, you know, through Kubrickian eyes, and, you know, different, for me at least.
Yeah. We did an hour on Stanley Kubrick here at this table. Tell me about him, from where it spent 2-3 years of your life?
2 years of my life. God, where do you start? I mean, an extraordinary mind, extraordinary filmmaker, a guy who created his own world to protect his art and his family.
His own world in London, you mean? And
Yeah, that he, you know, he protected himself, valued his privacy. He's made, you know, Clockwork Orange, and a lot of things happened where the people would, you know, come in on him, and he was very protective of Christian and his kids and his family and that life. He's a very different man when he's, you know, I think from what a lot of people perceive him to be.
how so, you mean?
Well, he's, you know, he was very close with his family. He's a real family man, loved animals, loved his children, and a guy who knew a way that he made films that worked for him, and he did everything to protect that, and he was able to do that for, you know, his most of his career, all the way to the end.
If somebody had almost perhaps said, is it death had come at another time, and he said, look, we're not going to ever make this movie, those 2 years would have been an important part of your life.
I got to tell you, it's when he passed away and that happened, that was really a very tough time for us. Very tough time. I mean, for the family, for Nick and myself, and you know, concerned about protecting that film as much as we could.
He'd wanted to make it for a long time.
Yeah, he did. He wanted to make it, I think, since mid-'60s,
and
late '60s.
Just the
He'd been
tragedy
working on
of
that.
dying, what, within weeks before its release, or?
Within weeks before it's, he finished the picture, and we saw the film, and I was leaving from New York. I was in Australia. I just flown to start pre-production on MI2, and I got the call in the middle of the night, and from Nick and from Leon, and you know, that was it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Did you work with Stanley Kubrick at all? Did you know him? Did you
He
interview him?
spoke to Stanley Kubrick on the phone when we were
What
living.
did you do? You called him up
Anyways.
and said, I
No,
want to speak to Cruise because I have a job for him.
Jerry Maguire
couldn't
came
find
out
us.
while we were making Eyes Wide Shut.
We were doing some post-production on Jerry Maguire, and Tom just handed me the phone at one point and said, Stanley Kubrick.
Say hello.
Doing that.
The time
Stanley
from him
Kubrick.
saying that to me reaching for the phone felt like an eternity.
Stanley had some questions for you.
He had just seen Jerry Maguire, you know, or I guess
Yeah.
some version of
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
So it was amazing. I couldn't. I was transfixed at what his voice sounded like, at the personable way he was, and he talked a little sports, and the world was spinning around me.
The audience will not know what I'm talking about. In part they will, in part they won't. Let's talk about the fact that this takes place in New York, and it is released after September 11th. You have in your film scenes of the World Trade Center, which you felt it was important to keep in, because?
Well, first as a tribute, second as it's the character's vision of New York, and I believe that World Trade Center is part of his vision of New York. And as a director, we filmed it a year ago, and to me, they're like the people that were in that building are like actors in the movie, and we made the movie together, and I wanted them to stay. Whatever feelings come to you when you see the World Trade Center in the movie, I think are part of the emotions that are good to feel and correct to feel, but mostly, why take them out? Why
So
take
there
the
wasn't
Twin
even a
Towers?
serious question for you.
Well, the
You
question
had
came
to
up.
ask it because
It was never taken seriously.
right.
George Harrison is mentioned in our movie, and again, it's just it's kind of a poetic thing how you see, if you make a movie that you try and be timely in the way you handle pop culture with, pop culture is going to come back and comment on you in ways you never imagined. And so many things happen in the years since we made this movie that it's the world moves very fast right now.
There's also a dramatic and powerful, almost last scene, which I will not tell because it's not fair to the audience. But they'll know if they see this piece, this show, and then see it. Any reservations about that as a reminder of?
The ending to me always felt celestial. And,
Celestial.
Yeah, and I like that a character finds what's been missing in his life and realizes that he must take the sour along with the sweet in his life. But ultimately, when you come to realize humanity, I think you get rewarded in some small or great way, and that's what the end of the movie is about.
Recognizing humanity.
Recognizing humanity and how to cherish it in every little and large moment around you. And you know, we talk very seriously about the themes of the movie. Those are all there, and so is the fun ride you can take with it. It's a great, it's a great mind-bending love story, and that's what we wanted to do. Yeah.
When I think about you and the roles you've had, the question everybody seems to ask, the 3 or 4, but one at the top is, how does he keep the edge? You know, I mean, where you have been in this business you're in, bringing, you know, what is it about the business that keeps you on the edge you're on? What is it about you?
I just think it's the love of what I do. I love what I do. And I think the feeling of recognizing that, recognizing what it is, I think early on what I wanted to do, and not taking it for granted. And I really am, you know, the kind of person I just relish the experiences that I've had, relish the experience of working with this man right here, and you know, Steven Spielberg, and feeling that, you know, I've had the opportunity to be in some rarefied air, and that it is a love of what I do.
What is it you think you love?
You know, I don't think I love it. I
know.
know.
I don't mean.
You know,
I don't
but,
mean.
you know, but you know what I mean.
No, but that's well said, because
but it's,
the question was not, are you sure you love it, but what is it that you love?
It is. I love being part of a story that's being told. There's many different parts of it. It's something that movies, for me as a kid, have inspired me, have taken me on places that I could never go in the towns that I've lived in, and those dark houses. I've gone on journeys, and it's taken my imagination to places that I didn't think I could ever go. And when I get on a set, and I remember the first time I was on a set, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, mark, camera, what is that, you know? And then I did Taps with Harold Becker, and Stanley Jaffe produced it, and Timothy Hutton had just won the Oscar for Ordinary People. A stunning performance. And Sean Penn, I think it was his first picture, and all these guys, George C. Scott, and it just, I realized I didn't think I'd ever work again afterwards. You kind of, you know, you're concerned, is this ever going to happen again? And then it just evolved. It just, I was able to work, and I was able to start doing things that I loved, and I had a dream of producing movies, of understanding more and more about it. And it's the kind of thing that there are no limits to the creativity of, you know, just budget limits, you know, but there are no limits in this, and it's a place where you can dare to dream and put it out there, and that's what I love about it. And when I go out, I don't take that privilege for granted, and that's how I feel about it. And I'll keep doing it until they ask me to get the hell out of town.
Nobody wants to see you any again.
That's it, buddy. Out. Out. In fact, just here's your bags. Get out. Get on the bus. Go.
That's right. We've seen the last movie of yours. We want you.
You bum.
Don't call us. We will call you.
And don't wait by the phone either, pal.
And we don't want to care how many movies you've produced either.
Exactly.
But speaking of that, how about directing?
Yeah, I'd like to try that sometime. I feel
you can't sit by these guys without saying.
It's a daunting thing. You know, with the people I've worked with, it would be, it'd be very nerve-wracking. But I know at one point I will step out, and I ask people to realize that the first film is, you know, going to be my first. But I don't know what it is. I've been offered things to do, but there's a lot of time involved in doing that, and I think that I'm having so much fun acting and producing. I mean, you look forward to, as a young actor, I was always looking forward to getting older so that I could, you know, hopefully be a better actor.
And have a more range of parts, too.
Yeah, hopefully have, you know, greater roles, which is what happens. So now I'm kind of at that age, and I'm like, bring it. Bring it, man. Come on.
But see, that's interesting. The notion is I'm ready. You know, I'm at the best place I could possibly be, and in terms of age, I'm an appropriate time to do almost anything I want to do. The kinds of characters I really want to play.
Characters.
That deal with all the kinds of emotions and things that I've experienced as a human being.
Yeah, and that I can bring more. Right. You know, and that doesn't mean that I don't want to make the Mission Impossibles and stuff like that, because I love as an audience. I love going all kinds of movies. I like, you know, little pictures. I like action movies. I like comedies. I like, and to be able to play in all that in that arena, I love that. I really do.
Why do you think he's been able to keep it on the edge?
Joy of accomplishment, setting goals for himself, and then giving himself the chance to really love achieving them. No, you know, when he says he doesn't take things for granted, he means it. No. He's the only other person that I've met who will jump higher and do louder high fives than me when we nail a scene. It's great. I've had people say to me, "It's okay, calm down. It's just a movie." You know, but we'll set some goals for the scenes that we do, and then when we get there, you just see it's like it's the first movie he ever made. You know, just fresh joy.
And have you decided what you're going to do next?
Just finish writing a script that I've been working on, and it's going to get
lost.
You
have a part for Tom? Did you almost? Did you? I mean, what about Almost Famous? Did you talk to him about Almost Famous?
He read a part out loud that really helped me. It was never. You were doing Mission Impossible.
Right.
Didn't feel I was right.
It wasn't nothing you were right for. Yeah. But you did read for him because you wanted. As I remember this story, you wanted him to know what it felt like for somebody to read the lines. So he'd see if the lines had a resonance. Am I right?
Well, he wanted, you know, I love doing his stuff, and I said, listen, if you ever want to just, you know, riff,
Reader.
if you ever want to riff on stuff, to just hear things played, you know, I'll do it badly for you, and we'll just kind of play around, and sometimes that helps. You know, I do that, you know, anytime he needs anything. You know, you're there for your friends, and it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, he was amazing. He did the Lester Bangs part and basically, you know, blew it out of the water and said, "Yep, too bad I'm making Mission Impossible." So no, it wasn't going to work, but it was brilliant to hear it.
You own the franchise now for Mission Impossible.
Paramount.
So Paramount does. Yeah. You want to do another one?
I don't know. You know, maybe if I can think of something that that's going to be different and fun and challenging, I'd like to do that. It is a huge erector set to get together and sit down, put the pieces together, and see what you can do and how far can you go.
Yeah. What's the time frame you have in your head? I mean, do you think one movie every couple of years, or
No, I mean, I really enjoy working. So I usually make a picture every year and a half, generally. This year I've got 2 coming out. It just happened that way. But I have no kind of overall plan. It's when it happens. You know, you work on a material and you work on it until it's right, and then you go. Then you go.
And you? You only want to do your own stuff.
Well, on the rare occasions when something like this comes along where I feel inspired and I
You
can
do
bring
somebody else's
something
stuff, yeah.
to it and have the blessing of the original writer, yeah. But mostly, you know, it's a hard thing to make a movie, and you sort of have to do the things that you can't possibly say no to. They kind of choose you, and usually it's my own stuff.
When people walk out of, you mentioned the 15 minutes that Billy Wilder talked, at least 15 minutes. At least 15.
Nice.
Good. Good.
Charlie Rose.
Charlie Rose.
At least 15.
What do you want them to feel and say about Vanilla Sky, walking out of this movie?
I want them to think about their own lives, things that they might have taken for granted, things that might still be out there in terms of love and living their life more fully, and also to just revisit those characters and think about what happened to the characters and what will happen to the characters. 'Cause to me, that's the best thing about a movie, is you meet new people that you're sorry to leave behind after 2 hours. And hopefully that happens on Vanilla Sky.
The amazing thing about acting and knowing something about the career you have had is that, you know, not only you inhabit characters, but it also, in a sense, gives, I assume, some sense of perhaps even understanding through other characters, but through your own life. I think of your father, which is a remarkable story of you wanting to find your father, who you didn't speak to for a while before he died, you know. And then there is a scene, there's a movie, you know, where sort of art and reality in some way. I mean, the emotional demands and opportunities to call on all of your emotion, all of your physicality, all of your life. You know.
Yeah.
There's an extraordinary sense of a way to invest of yourself.
Yeah. It's a really creative, unique life, and I think as an actor you have to understand life and keep looking for what is, you know, who you are and what life is, and kind of, I'm interested in people, and I'm interested in...
Has fatherhood, parenthood, I mean, changed how you approach this? Do you take, you know, you have now something else in your life, family. Does it make it different in any way, richer, different?
Richer. I think it adds to it, it contributes, because suddenly you're seeing the world again through a child's eyes, and parenthood is a tremendous responsibility, one that it's hard to comprehend what it is before you experience that. You know, don't you feel? I mean, he's just got 2 boys. I mean, you go through it, and it adds. I think it adds to my life on all levels, my work, my home life, everything.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very
Great
much,
to have you.
Charlie. It's great being here, man.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thanks, Charlie.
One more time.
No.
Charlie Rose.
You do it. Come on.
No.
Charlie Rose.
Charlie Rose. Thank you,
Tom
Charlie.
Cruise, Cameron Crowe,
Thank you,
Vanilla
sir.
Scott.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.